What is the point you want to make? That really is the question.
Hi and welcome to Lead Well.
Hey, and welcome to this solo episode of Lead Well. Well, sometimes it's time for me to get in touch with you. And there is one topic that has come up in my coachings recently that I thought might be interesting for you all. So this is clients who came to me saying, well, Christine, I have one issue, and that is I've been told that I need to work on my communication to make sure that I am more to the point and that I am more concise in what I'm communicating. And this immediately reminded me of a method, of an approach that I learned from my McKinsey alumni colleagues and managers when I was back in corporate. And this technique is called the pyramid principle. It has been designed by Barbara Minto. She has written a book about that. And let me share with you some of the main ideas from there. I don't know about you. Sometimes when people want to share something with me, it's really hard to stay focused and listen because they start telling me all about the different details of research that they've done, of examples that they have. And it seems to take ages before they actually tell me what they want to tell me, the message that they want to bring over to me. And the same is true for me because sometimes I'm so ingrained into detail that I have a hard time to actually, make it very clear. What is the statement? What is the one thing that I want to tell someone else? And this pyramid principle really is one way of doing that because I think it's even more important these days than it used to be like 10 years ago because our attention span has shrunk. Not sure about you. I experience it with myself every day. It's hard for me to stay focused. I need those little dopamine kicks now and then because I'm so used to them. And I think this is prevalent throughout all people right now. So even more so, we need to make sure that when we start communicating, that when we bring over something, that when we want to convince someone or get the buy-in from someone, that we start with what actually is the important thing. To be clear, to be confident, also to appear confident because we know our stuff, and mostly also to be efficient with our communication. Now, what is the core idea of this pyramid principle? It has been developed by Barbara Minto, and no wonder all my McKinsey alumni colleagues used it because Barbara Minto also was a McKinsey associate. Now, visualize a pyramid. That's why the pyramid principle. And on top, there is the key message, the one thing that you want to communicate, to get across. And the base is all the supporting details. And it actually has 3 levels. So the top really is this key message, or it can be a recommendation. And the question this one statement should answer really is, so what? Why are we talking about this topic? What is our goal? What do we want to achieve? Our key message. And in the middle of the pyramid, then come the main arguments. Why do we want to do what we want to do? And there are 2 to 4. Usually there are 3 because 3 is a nice number also to memorize. And so usually you have 3 arguments in the middle, but you can have up to 4, probably not more than 4 and not less than 2, but 3 is a good number to start with. And then on the bottom, the 3rd level down there, this is where you find all the details, the data, the examples, the evidence of why those arguments support your main key message. Now, why does that work. First of all, you immediately capture the attention of your listeners. And even prior to that, it forces yourself to be very clear about what you want to talk about, what you want to transmit, what you want the other person to take away from your conversation. It saves everyone time. It saves everyone mental energy because you don't have to stay focused through the entire details. You immediately get the main message. And then you can ask for details after that. Also, it signals confidence because you know what you're talking about. And it prevents this overload of context because if you're like me, I love my details and I usually tend to share a bit more details than the other person would need. I admit. If you have ever sensed that from me, apologies. And I am always still working on my communication to make it more focused and more to the point. And especially this method helps me with that. And what it also does, even when we are thinking for ourselves, when we are working on a concept, or like me now working on a book, it helps me focus and organize my ideas in a logical way before even writing it down or before presenting. Even when I write an email, I first think about, well, what is it that I want the other person to take away from it? And then I can provide the details to that. Now for this middle layer, the supporting arguments, the supporting reasons, the rationale of why you think this key message is key. Think about those as elements that are what is called in that concept MECE, MECE, which is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. What does that mean? That means that all of those arguments together are really comprehensive. There is nothing else that would support your argument, your key message. And at the same time, there are mutually exclusive. So it's not that you're covering different aspects of the same thing there, but literally it's one point after the other. So, for example, when I say I need to expand my digital marketing because I want to have higher reach, lower cost, and I also want to target a specific online audience. Now, these are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. I could also say I use a chronological order, especially when I work on a project, when I work on product development, for example, as I did in the past. Then there was a beginning, a phase one, a phase two, a phase three, and I could use that as the support for my key message there. Now, I invite you to really practice and reflect on this approach. Pick one real communication that you have had in the recent past or will have in the recent future. It can be an email, it can be a briefing, it can be a presentation, it can be a conversation, and write down your key message in one sentence. And if you cannot do that right away, then start with all the evidence, start with all the details, start with all the data that you have collected, like you usually would have. And then identify what are the 2 to 4, ideally 3 arguments. And then you condense that in your key message. And I'm pretty sure that with a bit of practice, you then will have the habit to start with the key message right away and find your supporting arguments and then bring in all the different details that would support those. Thinking top down really is a mindset shift. At the beginning, I had a real problem with that because I was questioning this approach. I'm like, how can I start with what is up there if I have not yet worked on the details, if I have not yet found my data? But it's so helpful to know what you're looking for because then you can look for the data that will support and will provide a rationale for what you want to do and what you want to say. So, what is the point you want to make? That really is the question. And try the approach, try it out, especially when you work with people higher up in an organization. It will be really helpful because we all know they are pressured, as we all are. They have no time, as we all don't. And they really appreciate if you bring across the main issue right away. And then they can dig deeper into your arguments, into your details, into your data. This helps so much in communicating. And I'm so very much looking forward to hearing from you how this pyramid principle approach from Barbara Minto will have helped you in your communications going forward. Now, if you ask me to give you an example about the pyramid principle, I would probably tell you about the NeuroPositive method that I have developed. And I would say that everyone should integrate this NeuroPositive approach into their daily life and leadership because it strengthens the presence, gives you perspective, identifies your purpose, and helps you to progress. And those are the foundations of a sustainable performance and well-being. And my main arguments would be in the middle level. Having this approach enhances self-regulation and presence. It cultivates cognitive flexibility and perspective. It aligns your purpose and your motivation, and it fosters measurable progress and resilience. And the supporting evidence is all the research that I've done around positive intelligence, the neuroscience studies that I've done, and also Neurographica, of course, that I have included there. And there are so many examples for my coaching clients that when they start using this approach, they have a much better stress tolerance, a clearer communication, and fewer conflicts to battle with. And of course, it is a very unique combination of multiple approaches and methodologies that I've learned over time. So that is my example for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode this week, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a wonderful day and week. Bye.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.